We should get started, and as people come, you can log them in.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, so you want me to start off then?
Yes.
Okay. Well, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Rick Fratelli, and I've been designated tonight as the elf of the Zoom meeting. So let me put my elf hat on, because already we've had quite a time here. My job is simply to just talk a little bit about Zoom. If we did this 5 months ago, I would probably have to explain everything about Zoom. But given today's world, I doubt that there's anybody on here that hasn't Zoomed before. So I just want to just mention a couple things. One, about the audio. We've already talked about that. Everybody has a microphone, so you can imagine if we all have our microphones open and on, it's like we would have, how many are on the call now? We'd have 27 open microphones. So you can imagine 27 open microphones. That picks up everything. Not only picks up everything, but you would end up feeding back some of when somebody's talking into your microphone, which would repeat it again and again and again, and we'd end up with a big feedback loop. And it really becomes very hard to communicate like that. So as Ted said before, if you can mute your mic when you're not talking, and that's in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, you can mute yourself. And then if when you want to say something, or it's time for you to say something, you can just raise your hand and Ted can call on you, and you can unmute yourself. I would only mute you or unmute or mute everybody only if we've got a really bad feedback problem. So that's basically the main way to do this. The problem we had earlier is that the audio, the meeting was setting up itself as if everybody was going to call in on a phone instead of over your computer. That's why we didn't have any audio. Once we found that out, then we could quickly repair that. So the other thing is, I think Zoom is going to be with us for a long time yet after the COVID's over. This is a new technology that we have, and I think we can really leverage this nicely at the museum to continue to spread really our influence in the world by doing Zooms. We can bring people in from far distances and include people that could never be involved before, who couldn't be with us in person. So I think this is really going to change not only the museum, but a lot of ways that we communicate, for good or bad. It's not as good as being there for something like this, but it's the next best thing. So I personally want to welcome everybody and thank you for being here tonight. And I look forward to having the very first Glenn Martin Maryland Aviation Museum's virtual holiday party. So to do that, I'm going to turn it back over to the real party guy who's in charge, and that'll be Ted.
Well, thank you, Rick. I want to thank you for doing this for us. As some of you may know, we've been practicing this for about a week, and we're getting a lot of people hooked up and figuring out how to use it. So it's working pretty well for a lot of people. And as we continue doing this, we'll probably get even more people doing this. I want to thank everybody for joining us also. And as you know, we've got, normally we send out we give out our sheet as everybody comes into the thing. Joe's going to go over our what happened in 2020 in a few minutes. I have a few things to say now, and then we'll do our Purple Martins, and then we'll have a few questions at the end, and then we'll close down. So again, I want to thank Joe for helping us with this. As you know, of course, the COVID thing has been a problem for most of the last 9 months. We reopened in the summertime, and that worked out, but we didn't get a lot of visitors or even a lot of volunteers. So we're closed down now again for a little while. We're going to see as over the next week or two how things are going and when we'll be reopening. As you know, Debbie sends out a message usually every week. If you know, she always starts with GLM on the front, so that's when you know it's from the museum. she will tell people what's going on and when things are gonna happen. She also runs our Facebook page, which is very good and has lots of good information on it. And Phyllis runs our web page. Again, there's a lot of good stuff on that. It's called mdairmuseum.org if you haven't been on to look at it. Lots of good stuff there. So look at those two things if you have any questions about what's going to happen. Both Phyllis and Debbie usually post things within a few hours of when something is announced. Again, we hope that we'll be opening again in the near future, but we'll let people know as we get there. Not much has been going on at the museum, but there have been a few people working in the archives, often only 1 or 2 people at a time. Stan is often there, Paul is often there. So those things are going on. And of course, the aircraft committee is still working, often down at Strawberry Point and in C building. So there's things going on there. And we'll keep doing those things, even though the museum is officially not open to the public. Let's see. Also, of course, as you may know, the train garden is just about done and should be opened up as soon as we reopen. We hope we'll let everybody know about that, but that should happen hopefully in the next few weeks, and we'll let people know about that. We want to thank all the people who worked on the train garden. And it's a little different this year. It's in our main gallery. So and there's plenty of room to walk around the outside of it, but we hope not to have hundreds of people showing up at one time. We'd have to spread them all out down the hallway. So we'll see how it goes as that goes along. I also want to thank the SPG group. That's the Special Projects group. They continue working on a variety of things, mainly trying to figure out how we're going to get the Mars here, and also what the new museum might look like if we start raising money to put the Mars in a new museum. And those projects are ongoing also, and we'll keep people up to date on what's going on there. So at this point, I want to thank Nancy Zellinger for all the work she does and keeping the museum running so smoothly. I want to turn it over now to Joe Corteil, who's going to read the events that happened last year, and then we'll do the Purple Martins, and then at the end there'll be a little closing ceremony, and we'll be able to ask questions. So Joe, it's up to you.
Okay, thank you, Ted. I'm glad to see this crowd this evening. I had no idea how many people we'd have, but obviously we as a museum, as a group, make a lot of changes. We're pretty flexible, and this is an example of it right here. So I just want to talk a little bit about what we did do during 2020. There were many things we did not do, like most organizations. It was somewhat disappointing for the volunteers, but as resourceful as all the volunteers are, and I sincerely mean that, they did what they could do, and they kept busy for the most part. So one of the things we did was we hosted an engineering day for the Boy Scouts in February. We've been hosting the Boy Scouts for, I don't know, Nancy, you might know better than me, 4 or 5 years at least, and we have a good contact with them. They usually come out twice a year. We've had the Girl Scouts out as well. So, but again, this year, not so. I'm not sure whose idea this was, but we initiated a scavenger hunt. That may have been Nancy's idea, with 10 questions permanently posted on display in the museum. And it's really a learning tool. It's a good learning tool, really. I haven't tried it myself yet, but I'm going to. In March 18th, we closed the museum due to COVID-19. And we were closed approximately 3.5 months, actually. We reopened June 26th. When we reopened on the 27th, we only reopened half-time. So we were open Wednesdays and Saturdays. And we also, regular hours, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. and also by appointment on I believe any other day, I guess maybe other than Sunday. During the year, we had the 18th year, marked the 18th year of the speaker series. So we had one program and the very first Zoom meeting, and it was held for our guest speaker, our veteran astronaut, Tom Jones. His topic was space shuttle stories. I believe just 29 people tuned into that, but it's a start, and we hope to continue that in the new year using Zoom, of course. We organized an outdoor event. I think Karen Armacost was coordinating this. We had a group of kids from the St. Francis neighborhood summer campers in July, and we asked them, Nancy, I believe, helped out with that too. I think she was there that day down at Strawberry Point. And we asked them about the aircraft and the different terms. So that was fun. It was a small group, but it was fun to work with the kids like that. In September, we added Friday to the operating schedule. On September the 11th, actually. We also were visited by members of the U.S. Naval Test Pilot School from Patuxent River, Maryland, in both August and September. This was interesting.
Working. That's weird. It won't work for me. I keep getting cut off. You know what? How long, Jim? How long have you been on there?
It's been in and out.
Oh, it has.
Yeah.
Okay.
In September, we had been approached by a local movie production company, either late August or early September. They were looking for an airplane that they could use to film a couple of scenes from their movie entitled The Essay. And they knew Al Pollard, someone knew Al Pollard, and Al referred them to us. And they came out on September the 27th, the Sundays. They spent 10 hours, it was 10 hours that day, and they filmed the opening scene and the closing scene. And they were the only two scenes that they needed an airplane for. But again, a testament to our volunteers, they developed some issues with some of the equipment, and so we jumped into action and we improvised and we got them through the filming phase. But everybody, I thought it was very interesting the way it was done. They're going to keep us posted on the opening and the distribution of the movie. On October 17th, we had our first and only open cockpit of the year. Truthfully, I'm surprised we were able to pull that off, but it was a beautiful day. We had about between 150 and 160 people who attended. We also quietly observed the 30th anniversary of the museum by giving the first 100 visitors during that open cockpit a free keychain. Ben had mentioned this earlier. The 7th annual train garden has been delayed, again, due to the rising number of COVID-19 cases in Maryland. So we're going to have to monitor, the activity of this virus. And, it's a shame. Maybe we can wait until the spring. It sounds funny. Maybe we can wait till the spring to open it because it's really nice. The people work real hard on this garden. We've got some very talented people. So we'll have to see what happens with that. In the newsletter, our Flightline newsletter, in March, July, and November, we published it. And in the fall issue, volunteers answered the question, what is your favorite memory of the Glenn L. Martin Maryland Aviation Museum? And I've been associated with the museum one way or the other since, 2000, 1999, whatever it was. And in 2000, the 404 flew in May, on May 27th of 2000, and I was there for that, and that was really exciting. That was the last flight of the 404. And then we are conducting, I guess, a capital campaign now, and part of that, we are sending out raffle tickets. We have the raffle tickets available in the museum. And the winner of that raffle will receive $500, and the drawing will be on April the 5th of next year. Now, I added two things to this because Ted had touched on it briefly, but there's a lot of restoration work going on over in C building in the basement. One is the AM1 Mauler, and I think we've had that plane in various parts for what, about 10 years, maybe longer than 10 years. But the guys have made tremendous progress on that. I mean, you go over, when you get to go over, and Ted's working on that, I know, you go over there and you see these parts, it's like you walked into the factory, and there they are. They're sitting out there. They're brand new looking, but we know they're not. The reason, if anybody doubts it, Ray, who's kind of in charge of that project, he took a picture of one of the parts, and on the inside of one of these parts was it was a date in either 1946 or 47. So the idea of the Mauler actually, first flight, whatever that means, was in 1944, but it was actually introduced in 1948. And it wasn't as efficient as the Sky Raider. So in 53, it was retired. They built 151 of them altogether. But it's getting close to, I think, another year, maybe a little longer than that, they'll be able to start assembling all the different parts. And the other thing I want to talk about under restoration is the folks that are working on the MS-1, which is the submarine scout plane. It's, what would you say, 90% finished, right, Ted? About 90%?
Well, the body is and we're going to start, we got a grant just recently so that we can start buying the fabric to cover the airplane. So then it'll look almost done.
Yeah, but it's amazing. It's scale 1:1. The plane's like 18 feet long, wingspan of 18 feet. Empty, it weighs 650 pounds, and full, it's a little over 1,000 pounds. It had a range of 200 miles, and the speed was 100. I just want to briefly mention its use. The Glenelg Martin Company had one version, and another company, Cox Kleeman, had another version. The Glenelg Martin Company's version was made out of wood and fabric. The other company, it was metal. And they actually had some test flights, and they went through some changes, I guess. It was a plane that you can easily disassemble the wings. I'm not sure about the fuselage, but it probably was easy to disassemble as well, because it was stored on the deck of the submarine behind a conning tower, and it would submerge with this on there. And then when there was an indication that there may be some activity in front, and of course these were trials because this didn't take place until 1923, and the war had been over by 5 years at that point. So they would surface, they would remove the parts from this huge barrel, they would assemble it, it would launch off the deck of the submarine. It would go out and do some retrieval work, so to speak, take take photographs and whatever else. And then it would come back and they would disassemble it and store it in the barrel again. So it had a short life though. And I think they built 6 of them. And in 1926, they scrapped all of them. All of them. I think the Navy's famous for that.
Yeah.
They did that with the Seamasters too. But anyway, let me just tell you real quickly, the mauler, the crew there, and I may miss some people, and I apologize, but the mauler is Ray Helmick and Nathan Doc Rosenblum. Tom Hopkins has worked on it, and I think John Steele too, and there may be others that worked on the mauler. The MS-1, Fred Fate, Dorsey Bull, and Jeff Michael. And you know what? There was a larger group actually quite a few years ago that worked on it in its infancy. Then all you saw were the ribs of the wings laying on the table, and they had to be wired and strengthened and secured. So it was actually quite a few people, but Fred and Dorsey have picked it up, and they've made so much progress on it over the last 2 or 3 years. So, but anyway, that's our highlights for 2020. Any questions about anything?
I'd just like to add one event.
What is that?
In March, right before the close down, we had the Rosie Lunch and Learn event,
Okay,
right under the wire.
thank you, Debbie.
And Debbie, we're going to try to do more things with the Rosies and the Rosie daughters, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Yes, good. Okay, well, thank you, Joe. You covered just about everything we did, and thank you very much. Now Nancy's going to introduce us to Jim. You have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that Joe overlooked something. He forgot to mention the fact that in 2020, painting the F-101, fixing of the wing, he's been the chair behind that. He's been the muscle behind everything that happened there, and he's being very shy about saying that he did something, but it never would have happened without him, and I think we all know that.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Jim.
He and Denny have painted that plane, and Joe has painted probably half the other planes out there. So we really appreciate that, Joe. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll move on to Nancy, who's going to start the next part of the project.
Hello, everyone. Our Purple Martin Awards, what are they? During the operating years of the Glenn L. Martin Company, the highest employee award for service was known as the Purple Martin Medal of Honor Award. Following in this tradition, the Glenn L. Martin Maryland Aviation Museum bestows our Purple Martin Award to volunteers to acknowledge past and continuing efforts in support of the museum. So now I'm going to turn it over to Jane, and she will present the awards.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I will let you know the name of each awardee as I read what has been said about them.
Did we lose Jane's voice?
I guess so. Let me see where she is here.
She may be trying to sign back in. We've lost her video too.
Yeah.
Bail out?
My audio from it has been cutting in and out.
Is she back in? I can't see her.
No.
No.
I don't see her.
Nancy usually calls these people when they don't show up. She's calling her now. Well, while we're waiting for Jane to get back on, one of the things I was going to talk about a little bit at the end was the people who made the movie with us are going to come back and help us with some more projects next year, possibly helping us with a something we can do for the Tuskegee Airmen and Black History Month. So they're a professional video movie making company, and they are excited about helping us with some more projects next year. So we're going to see what happens there, and we hope that we'll know about that in the near future.
Hey, Ted.
Yes.
While we've got a little pause here, I'd like to show something.
Yes.
In the beginning, we were going to put this up as we were all starting the meeting, but since we had to kind of move around a little bit, I just wanted to show you this. This is kind of the tells a little bit about this year and what this year is like.
Yes. Yes.
So I think this can kind of stand for 2020.
So Rick and Ted, we have lost Jane, and she keeps trying to put the note. She can't click on the link. She types it in and she gets an invalid message. So I have the script. So in her absence, I'll continue.
Okay.
Great.
Okay.
All right. Did I interrupt you, Rick?
Nope.
No.
I'm done.
Okay. So Henry Aguirre, the face of the museum. What is it? You might think it's our aircraft on the flight line or the wealth of material in the archives. It could be the information in the gallery with cases full of models of Martin planes. No, the face of the museum is the front line of volunteers who greet our visitors as they come through the door. It is these dedicated people who make our visitors feel welcome and excited about what they are about to see and hear. It is these volunteers who tell the story of Glen L. Martin with knowledge and enthusiasm and make history come alive with the information. We have many such volunteers, but one stands out for his longevity and his knowledge of the Martin story and aviation in general. That person is Henry Aguirre. Henry has been a volunteer for many years and is a highly dedicated individual. He can always be counted on when needed for regular museum duty and for those times when large school groups come, and he has volunteered countless hours on open cockpit days. Thank you, Henry, for your years of commitment to the Glen L. Martin Maryland Aviation Museum. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Henry, would you like to say anything?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't have anything to say except that I'm surprised, and I've always been very happy and joyful in being part of this great venture that we call the Glen L. Martin Maryland Aviation Museum. We're changing the name, right? When are we changing the name?
Not anytime soon.
When?
Well, there's talk about the new museum may have a different name, but that's probably 4 or 5 years from now.
Oh, okay. I thought it was going to happen like tomorrow.
No, no.
No. No, I'm always very happy to be part of the museum, and I always try to entice everybody I meet to join us.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
And I enjoy the camaraderie of all the volunteers. I think all of you guys are amazing, and I learn from every one of you. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Our next awardee is Paul Bess.
Wow.
So about 3 or 4 years ago, there was a new volunteer in the archives section of the museum. This person came in to do work on photographs and other material. He is a quiet fellow and was quite content to sort through the pictures and do whatever was asked of him. As we got to know him, he quietly volunteered to do more. He didn't listen to the advice that someone gave to beware of the sucking sound that pulls new people into more and more activity with the museum. Today, Paul works with photographs, researches and writes grants, works with the aircraft, works as a museum guide when he has the time, and works with aircraft committee to keep the planes in good shape and anything else that comes along his way.
Wow.
Paul Bass has become an invaluable asset to the museum, and we are very glad that he has chosen the Glenn L. Martin Maryland Aviation Museum to which to share his many talents. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Paul, would you like to say anything?
Yeah, assuming I can get myself unmuted. No, thank you. It's quite an honor. I should be thanking you. I found a home with you guys, and I enjoy the work, and it's kind of given me a purpose. To something to work on, and I enjoy everybody's company, and it's just been a really good experience this past few years. So I really appreciate the recognition that this gives me too. So thank you.
Okay, our next recipient is Phyllis Fulham. Name something that needs to be done in the museum, and you will probably find Phyllis Fulham contributing ideas and energy to help with whatever it might be. A cockpit, archives, education committee, school group tours, training garden, special committee to get the Mars, helping when the others cannot be there, or recent pandemic, and on and on. Phyllis is a retired school librarian and has put her talents to use in the archives. She has professionally helped label and shelve many, many of our books. She is the administrator of our Past Perfect record keeping system and our website assistant coordinator. Phyllis is our Girl Friday, always willing to step in and help. Organizations like the Glenn L. Martin Maryland Aviation Museum rely on people like Phyllis. We know we can't get along without you. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Brava, brava.
Phyllis, would you like to say anything?
Not really, but I will. That's quite an honor, quite a surprise. I feel like Paul does. It's nice to have a home away from home, some place to go that you always run into friendly faces and have a purpose and something meaningful to do. So I appreciate your welcoming me into the museum, and I look forward to doing whatever I can to help. Thank you.
Okay, moving along, our next awardee is Joan Kramer. Part of the mission of the Glenn L. Martin Maryland Aviation is a commitment to education about Glenn L. Martin's history, as well as the history of aviation and space exploration in general. This commitment requires thought, time, and work. Our school tours at every level, Boy Scout and Girl Scouts events, senior group visits, community group visits, all require planning and organization. And the person who assists in making this all happen is Joan Kramer, who is our Education Committee Secretary. In addition to these responsibilities, Joan is one of our faithful museum guides, and she assists with editing the newsletter. Thanks to Joan Kramer, There are many very successful events throughout the year which help the museum meet its mission. Thank you, Joan.
Brava, brava.
Joan, would you like to say anything?
I would. Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like others, it is my second home. I'm always happy to drive there. It's 7 miles away from my house, but it feels like my backyard. So thank you, everyone. And I've enjoyed 5 years. I lose count, but thank you.
Okay, our next awardee is Charlotte Rideau. Several years ago, one of our volunteers brought in his trains and set up a simple train layout for our visitors to see. It brought some interest at holiday time, and it was fun to show. The next year, it was expanded by another member, and more visitors commented on it. Our Charlotte grabbed the project by the horns, got other interested volunteers to help, started working on it in July, and our modest single-track layout grew to 4 tracks. A mural on the wall tied the history of Glen Martin with mountains, streets, and part of the airport. Outside sponsors were brought in to help purchase more track, houses, and everything that we needed. Santa became part of the grand openings, and the museum had an attraction worthy in any in the area. Charlotte Rideau has lent her energies in many other areas of the museum, especially handling the cash register, credit card sales during open cockpit. She also was instrumental in getting a new point of sale system for the museum, but her real claim to fame is the development of Martinville, the museum's annual train garden. Thank you, Charlotte. Unfortunately, Charlotte is not here with us this evening. She didn't sign in, did she, Rick?
I did not see her, no.
Yeah, so we'll make sure that all our recipients get their awards. Our final recipient this evening is Peggy Smith. What would a small museum be without its volunteers? The Glen Martin Maryland Aviation Museum has well over 50 volunteers who do all the amazing things that the museum accomplishes. The hours that these people contribute need to be recognized and recorded. This requires a system that is easy for people to use and something that is transparent to the organizations that grant us money to operate. Our in-kind donations are in the form of volunteer hours. Peggy Smith, our volunteer coordinator, devised such a system, and it has been in use for about 5 years. Peggy faithfully collects the monthly totals for each of our volunteers, records them in past perfect, and sends the information to the Baltimore County RSVP program, which oversees organizations which rely on volunteers such as ours. Because of Peggy, we have an excellent relationship with Baltimore County. This is a behind-the-scenes job and one that is essential. Thank you, Peggy, for all your time and energy that you have donated to the museum. Unfortunately, Peggy is not able to be with us this evening. She had foot surgery recently, and she really retired early this evening. But I told her she would be getting the award, and I'll make sure she gets it. All right, so thank you all of our awardees, and I'll turn it back over to Ted, who has some closing remarks.
Okay, well, thank you, everybody. As you know, we've been doing this for many years, and most of the years we've had a nice little dinner after this.
Right.
Where we all get together, have something to eat, and share the desserts. We hope to do that next year. And but this year, this is where we are. I want to, as I said, I want to thank all of the people who've been helping the museum for all these years, the officers, the board of directors, the people who work in the archives, the people who work in the library, the administrative offices, the museum guides. They're very important. Our aircraft committee, who is doing things down at Strawberry Point, and a lot of people don't know what's going on down there. Our webpage and our Facebook page people, they're keeping everybody informed. As I said before, they often put the word out within minutes after they hear something. And then, of course, all the other volunteers and members. We'd like to thank everybody for joining us tonight. I can't think of anything else. So at this point, we will open it up if anybody has any questions, and we'll do that for a few minutes. Okay. Yes, Nancy?
Yes, so before we open it up to questions, I want to thank everybody for being with us this evening. Congratulate all our winners of our Purple Martin Awards again, and truly thank you for sharing your time and your help with us. Normally during this evening, there would be a 50-50 raffle, and the winning ticket of the $500 winner would be drawn. Instead, this, as Joe said earlier, this drawing will take place now on Monday, April 5th at 7 o'clock. Hopefully at that time, we'll be in the Lockheed Martin Auditorium where the drawing will be held. If not, the drawing will probably be held on a Zoom meeting like we are tonight. So the good news for tonight is that raffle tickets can still be sold until April the 5th. And if anyone needs more raffle tickets, please call the museum and leave me a message, and I'll see that you get your tickets. And those that have sold the tickets already and have made donations, thank you so much for your support. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Nancy. As everybody knows, we're going to try to do more of these Zooms. We may try to do our Wednesday 1 o'clock meeting on the Zooms. Last Wednesday, we can't do it from the museum yet. We're hoping to get that improved soon so that we can start doing some of them from there. But we will continue those. We'll start doing Monday night, the first Monday of the month night ones also. We may do some videos. We could get people from all over the country to do these videos with us. And I see that Tom Jones is with us tonight. He did a great video in the summer, and I'm sure he'll do another great one for us during this year. Tom, do you have any ideas about what you might want to talk about this year?
Well, my favorite airplane that the Martin folks produced was the Marauder. And so I did a recent newsletter column on the different Marauders around the country and the world that you can go and see. And maybe that would be a good way to center a talk, would be to talk about those surviving airplanes and what the status of them is and where you can find them, and a lot of interesting stories about the restoration of each. In fact, in early January, if everything holds in there, I'll be able to go down and see the B-26, the straight B-26 that Kermit Weeks has down there at the Fantasia Flight Museum. So maybe that would be a good topic. You guys can talk it over.
Yes, and would you be able to bring that back for us? I'm sure he'd like to give it to you.
Yeah, it's a good carry-on item. In fact, we'll just get the propellers fired up and we'll just, fly it back that way.
Yes, okay. Well, thank you, Tom. Okay, like I said, we'll make announcements on our webpage and our Facebook about what's going to come up. One of the things we may do is a video of all the things that are going on over in C Basement. Most people don't get to go over there, but there's some great projects going over there, as Doc can tell us. And we'll see some of those things on maybe a half-hour video. We'll also see the MS-1 and how beautiful that looks at this point, and some of the other stuff that's been on storage there for maybe 20 years. So we're working on that for one of the videos also. Okay, does anybody have any questions at this point?
Not a question, but have a plea from the C Basement.
Yes.
right? As we are doing our projects, everything that we are producing does not have a home.
Right.
Okay. When the MS1 is finished, except for being covered, Dorsey and Fred can take the time, but the plane will remain assembled in his section until such time as it can go on display. We're really not in favor of putting the mauler outside.
Right.
And it will need to be somewhere to be assembled. It cannot, of course, be assembled in C basement. And in fact, we had to take pieces off of the forward section in order to hopefully get it in. And we're not sure that it's still going to fit to be worked on. And Joe, there are not only their fixed pieces, but Ray has made a lot of new pieces because many were damaged beyond repair and our ability to fix them. So for those above my pay grade who were thinking about the future of the museum, all the stuff that's down in the C basement needs about 8,000 square feet if you want to get the China Clipper and the Mars wind tunnel and the 404 cockpit, the mauler, and the MS1. You know, and that's all I got to say. So we're working away, and we figure about a year and a half until we, from the time we get the forward part of the mauler in to the C basement, that it'll be finished, and then we'll sit there sucking our thumbs or painting the floor or do something else.
Well, Doc, to be honest with you, we have been talking to the people who are trying to put Plant 2 back together for about a year and a half or so. And of course, with the COVID thing, that came almost to a screeching halt. They have offered us some space, but they want us to pay many thousands of dollars a month for not rent, but other things. So we're not sure about how that's going to work. So on our master plan, we would like to get some space somewhere on the airport and at least put up a dome similar to the one we have at Strawberry Point, maybe twice as big, and we can store some of the planes in that until we build our new museum, and people would get to see a lot of the things that are in C basement now that nobody ever gets to see.
Yeah, and it would be definitely appreciated, and probably 6,000 to 7,000 square will do it.
Yes. Well, we hope to do that, and we hope that the state will give us permission. We're working on those details, and we need to get someplace also to store the Mars if we get the Mars in the next year or so.
Yeah.
So that's our current thinking.
Just the voice in the wilderness.
Yes, yes. Any other questions? Yes, but Jim.
You know, you touched on the special projects group, and for those who haven't been familiar with it, this group of people have been trying to put together communications, letters, coordination, working with the LLC, our lobbying group, trying to get BOR, MAA, Al Pollard, and all the rest of the people all pulled together to give us what we're looking for, which is a home on the airport that'll be permanent, belong to us. The coordination of it, and you know, Ted, you've done a lot of the communications person to person. I think the guy who's kept us all on track, and he just doesn't say anything. He just cooks his meal. He's eating it right now. But I'd like to personally thank John for the amount of effort he's put into keeping us all focused in the special projects group so that we can go forward and try to bring the Mars home, try to have a new museum, and meet all the requirements and all the expectations of the people in the community and in the state, and give us a better museum. So John, I just want to say thank you for keeping us focused and on track.
Yes, yes, John does an amazing job, and we wouldn't be here without him. Other questions or comments?
Yes, I have one. And
Okay.
that is for those of you that haven't been part of the Wednesday afternoon sessions and the discussions that we've had in the board meetings. I believe, Joe, that we're still short on board members. We have a board search team looking to try and help find appropriate corporate people outside of the volunteer cadre that can bring something to the good of the museum. And I think we've picked up one or two, and I'd just like to pass that on. So if you have anybody that you know out there in the corporate world, the government world, the political world, other museum world, wherever it is, bring those names forward so that Ted and the crew, Joe and all can go try and bring them in. Thank you.
Bill, I've met 2 or 3 people in the last couple of weeks that I think can give us some pointers on where we might find some of these people. One of them is the executive director of the old Mars store, grocery store company. And I think he can maybe point us in that direction. And also the person who helped make the movie down there, if you remember that guy, we talked to him for quite a bit. He can point us in the direction of some people, I think, who might join the board also. So we're going to look into that over the next couple of months.
Yeah, the board does have a very important function with the museum. So we need to make it the best we can.
Yes.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
The question I have, I've heard a rumor that the Mars grocery chain that doesn't exist anymore was named after the Mars seaplane. Is that correct?
I don't know for sure. I was talking to the guy who I think his great grandfather started the company in 1943. He's now on the Glen L. Martin Foundation board that gives out grants to us occasionally. And he's become into them. Eventually we'll find out a little bit more about the Mars grocery store company and how they started, but at this point I don't know for sure.
I think I read it in the Baltimore Sun. I'm not sure whether it's true or not, but that's where I got the information.
Yes, it could be that that's what they picked. Yeah, because his name is not Mars.
Oh, no, I know his name is not Mars. I just heard that he named his company Mars after the Glen L. Martin Mars seaplane.
It's possible. Yeah.
Right.
They started about the same time.
Right.
Other comments or questions? Okay, well, we may try this again on Wednesday for our Wednesday 1 o'clock meeting. If we do, we'll let everybody know. If not this week, then hopefully next week. And like I said, we're going to try this again in January, the first Monday in January, and see how that goes. Okay, anybody else have questions or yes? Rick.
Ted, if we're ready to sign off, I have a little, we're always a very forward-looking organization, so I did have one slide at the end here. If we're ready to go, I'll put it up and wish everybody a great holiday and a happy new year, if that's good.
Yes.
Can we do that? Okay.
Yes. Okay.
So, looking ahead, things are definitely going to be better than they are today, and we can all look forward. So everybody have a great holiday.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great.
Fantastic.
Very good.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're good?
All right.